Okay, the Special Planning Commission meeting on Monday, December 14, 2020 is called to order at 5:30 p.m. Please call roll.
Kelly.
Here.
Savoli.
Here.
Litton.
Here.
Schwackenwald.
Here.
McCall.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Make a move to adjourn to executive session to discuss potential litigation. Is there a second? Second. Roll call.
Kelly.
Yes.
Savoli.
Yes.
Litton.
Yes.
Schwackenwald.
Tonight to consider the proposed land and zoning recommendation. This meeting is scheduled to conclude at 6:30 p.m. This meeting will be in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22, specific to recent amendments made in light of the current COVID-19 declared emergency, House Bill 197. Under the orders of Ohio Governor Mike DeWine and Ohio Director of Health, the Planning Commission is conducting this meeting via video conference. The video conference meeting can be accessed by going to the homepage of our city website, www.parmaheights.us, to find the link for the individual meetings. The public is invited to view the meeting live by accessing the meeting link posted on the city website. Members of the public were encouraged to submit any comments they have regarding the proposed rezoning in advance to the Planning Commission Secretary via email at council@parmaheights.us no later than 3 p.m. on Monday, December 14, 2020. Comments received will be shared with the Planning Commission and either read at the meeting or attached to the minutes of the meeting. The chat box function is available for observers to make a comment during the meeting. Please state your name and address with your comment. Comments received in the chat box will be addressed after email comments received prior to the meeting have been addressed. This meeting was publicly noticed in the Parma Sun-Post as required by law. Notice of this meeting was posted on the city website. The mayor sent letters regarding this meeting to business owners and building owners in the city and also issued a press release regarding this meeting. The land use rezoning analysis and recommendations, proposed district maps and proposed legislation were posted on the city website, www.parmaheights.us, in advance of this meeting. I will now turn the meeting and this public hearing over to Chris Hopkins of CT Consultants to present the materials that I have referenced.
Mr. Chairman, just for the public's benefit, Ms. Hopkins had planned on being at the meeting tonight and attending in person. She is not here. However, she is appearing by telephone where you can, she's going to make a presentation regarding the proposed revisions that were discussed last week and updates that she made in the past week regarding her presentation last week. At the conclusion of her comments, or I'm sure she'd be happy during them, the commission is free to converse with her. Just wanted to make clear that she would be appearing by telephone tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCorney. Chris, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. You should have received a package of the 6 different proposed chapters, and they each had some revisions. The revisions were highlighted in yellow. There were some additional minor edits, grammar, and things like that that were not highlighted. So the substantive items I will go through, and starting then with Chapter 1131, the definitions. And let me also say that the changes or these edits were made after the building staff had a chance to review the draft text And then there were some additional ones made from based on some of the conversation at the previous meeting and from some additional members of the administration. Regarding the first change that's been made is on page 1 and highlighting the term chief building official. And so it was brought to my attention that I was using the wrong title for the person who pretty much does the building permit. So that change you will find also in Chapter 1133 and Chapter 1135, which are the procedural chapters. There were a number of edits made to the definition of dwelling and dwelling unit and different types of dwellings, pointed out by the chief building official to try to provide some clarity. And so the major difference here is that a dwelling is a building that may have more than one dwelling unit in it. And then a dwelling unit itself is the actual place that one family lives in, or the equivalency of one family. And then for that, I have added the definition of family. And this is a standard definition that allows for up to 4 unrelated individuals to live together. The other change to this grouping of dwelling definitions is that I flipped the order of the word so that dwelling comes first, so that causes all of the dwelling related comments or definitions to be grouped. On the next page, permanent cosmetics, and this applies to tattoo establishments as well. There is a section that the law department is working on, Chapter 773, that it's an existing chapter, but it expands upon the current tattoo regulations. So permanent cosmetics is defined in that chapter. And as a rule of thumb, it's the less you can repeat text in your codified ordinances, the better, because if you make a change to, say, the definition of permanent cosmetics in one place, you can get tripped up, and if you've got the same definition in multiple places. Under restaurant, the last phrase does not include a smoking lounge was added. That phrase is also in retail establishment, and it wasn't in your earlier edition, so that's being consistent that restaurants and retail establishments do not include smoking lounges. And then at the bottom of page 4, setback line and setback, again, those were revised based on the conversation with the building official and to make sure that it was clear on how the setback is actually measured. And then at the bottom of page 5, the same with yards, same as what I did with dwelling. The wording was flipped so that yards, all 3 of those, appear together. Moving on to Chapter 1133. So on page 2, 1133.04, items A1 and A2 were revised to refer specifically to Class A and Class A1 districts instead of just commercial districts. And then again on A2 added that so that it was clear that it applies to the single-family districts, but if somebody does some proposes development in a multifamily district, then they have to go through the development plan review process. Moving on to Chapter 1135, conditional use permits. Confirmation of council, this is on page 3 under 1135.06. The change here was adding the 60 days, revising the time frame, and to be 60 days after receipt of the Planning Commission's decision, for confirmation by council, and that is to be consistent with other aspects of the codified ordinances where the 60-day time frame is already being used. On page 4, under 113508, terms and duration of approval, this was also adding more clarity for the building department in terms of what the conditional use permit means. So sub-item B is making it clear that if a property owner is issued a conditional use permit, they decide to sell their business and someone else wants to purchase it, that permit can transfer, but that new owner has to agree to all of the conditions and be approved by the chief building official so that the city is aware of and has that agreement and recognition of the conditions that are in place. And then C below that is changing the abandonment or consideration for when a conditional use permit ceases. It was a year, and I reduced it to 180 days after doing some research on what is typical. And the 180 days allows for someone to, if their business, for whatever reason, they need to find a new owner, this gives someone the a window of opportunity to find someone else to take over their business. Moving on to Chapter 1141, this was just a small change on page 3 under 1141.07, adding a specific reference to your existing building code section 1383.30 that does have regulations for non-conforming signs. Under Chapter 1185, the mixed-use district, this was a very minor adding on page 3 at the top of table 1185.02, adding a reference to Chapter 1195.03A for live-work units above ground. There were provisions in there that applied to both above ground and at ground level. And that was it for Chapter 1185. Moving on then to the last chapter, 1195, the use-specific regulations. On page 3, under E, townhouses, in having a conversation with the building official, he suggested that these side yard requirements for townhouses that are side by side, two sets of attached groupings, that 12 feet was comparable to what is currently in the single family districts, and so it made sense to reduce it. Again, in light of the fact that the mixed-use district is encouraging higher density development. And then the last two items are on pages 9 and 10, and both pertain to used car sales. And under item D, vehicle repair and restoration on page 9, this is adding subsection 5, allowing for a business that's doing car repair to have to be able to sell used automobiles as long as the site is 2 acres in size, and the display of used cars is takes place indoors, and it's accessory to the primary use, and therefore can't exceed 35% of the floor area of the building. And then on page 10, under vehicle sales, I added subsection 4, which just references the existing chapter 755 in the business code that does regulate used automobiles. So that is the extent of the revisions.
Do we have anything in the chat boxes, or are you still moving on, Chris? You got more?
There is nothing.
Nope, that is all. That is all.
I just asked, there was nothing in the chat box. And there's nothing in the chat box. And just prior to the meeting, the secretary distributed to you the communications that we received prior to the meeting. One is from Adriana Anderson, dated December 12th, 2020. And then we have an email from Dave Lansky, dated December 13th, 2020. We have another email from Dorian Lansky, dated December 13th, 2020. We have an email with attachments from the email address is E.Pinter that came on December 14th, today. And the last piece of information you have that should be made part of this record is a letter that was received approximately 3:30 this afternoon from the law firm of Voorhees Sater on behalf of Baymark Health Services, registering their client's objections to opposition to the proposed land use rezoning amendments to the codified ordinances. Those are all the communications that have been received, and Mr. Chairman, I would request that they be made part of the record and then attached to the minutes of this meeting.
You want to read through all of them?
That's
Just make them part of the
You can
record?
just attach them, sure, but they're there for your review and any then observation or comment that you may have.
Okay. Are there any comments from the rest of the group?
Mr. Chairman, I had a question in regards to this proposed on 1195, in regards to the operator of vehicle repair restoration establishment. What's the purpose, and maybe Mr. Pad, you can tell me, what's the purpose of having a requirement of 2 acres or larger when the vehicles have to be stored within displayed within the building?
Well, nobody wants used car sales in the city. The only place you have it is the old Integrity Chevy that would fit. They are doing some repair work there, and they're doing detailing. They would like to come eventually and do something, and that would be in conditional, where they could come and ask under conditional use through this planning commission.
So the cars, though, would be inside, not in the
They
lot?
have to be inside it, and that'd be one of the conditions. There's other conditions the body could place on them if you decided to entertain it.
Got it.
Now, in our ordinances, to be able to sell used cars now, you have to sell
New car.
new cars.
Correct.
And that's why they are strictly going to be a used car dealer, so that's why they would have to be kept.
And it inside, but it'd also be a condition. So, and that's if planning commission wants to entertain it.
So it's conditional?
Yeah, they can't come in here and just do it.
Any other questions? Okay. I move to refer the amendments to the following code sections together with the revisions discussed tonight to City Council for its review and consideration. Specifically, the following sections of Chapter 5 of the Zoning Administration Code sections are referred to Council. Chapter 1131, definitions. Chapter 1133, applications and plan review. Chapter 1135, conditional use permits. Chapter 1141, non-conforming uses, structures, and lots. Chapter 1161, district and building zone map. Chapter 1185, mixed zoning use districts. Chapter 1195, supplemental use requirements. Is there a second on this motion?
Second.
Roll?
Stavoli,
Yes.
Litton,
Yes.
Schwackenwald.
Yes.
McCall.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Okay, there's no further business. I move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Roll?
Litton,
Yes.
Schwackenwald,
Yes.
McCall,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Stavoli.
Yes.
Special Planning Commission meeting on Monday, December 14th, 2020 adjourns at 6:10 PM. Thank you all.